a divine warning, a storm, a flood, an ark, drifting across dark waters as endless rain drowns the sky, and the hope of a new world. You know this story, every culture on Earth does. But here's the part no one told you. The oldest version of this tale doesn't come from the Bible. It doesn't even come from Mesopotamia. It comes from a place older than both. A place buried for thousands of years. Until now. And it might just hold the key to what the flood story is really about. Could this tale, remembered across the world, be more than a myth? Could it be a memory? Welcome back, Darklings. The story begins before the world as we know it. God sends a great flood to cleanse the earth. Noah, a righteous man, is warned in advance. He builds a vessel, gathers his family, and 2 of every animal. The rain falls for 40 days and nights. The waters rise, and then silence. At last, the ark comes to rest on a mountain. A new world begins. It's one of the oldest, most sacred stories in the world, but here's the twist. It's not the oldest. Centuries before the Hebrew Bible was written, the same story was being told in ancient Mesopotamia. In what is now Iraq, around 1700 BC, a clay tablet told of a man named Ziusudra. Later, the Akkadians would call him Utnapishtim. He too was warned by the gods. He too built a boat. He too survived a flood that drowned the world. But this story refuses to stay in one land. In Greece, Deucalion and Pyrrha survive the wrath of Zeus, drifting in a chest as the earth disappears beneath the sea. In India, the god Vishnu, disguised as a fish, warns Manu and leads his boat to safety. Mesoamerican myths tell of rain that doesn't just fall. It devours the world in thunder and darkness, like in the Maya story of the third creation, drowned when humans angered the gods. In China, ancient legends speak of floods so vast that only divine emperors could tame the waters. Even in places untouched by empire, from Aboriginal Australia to the Andaman Islands, the tale endures, of water rising, of everything being lost, of one who is warned and who survives. Different names, different gods, but always the same story. Why? Why does the same myth rise again and again in cultures oceans apart? Cultures that had never met? Could it be coincidence? Or is this a memory of something we were never meant to forget? Why do cultures from opposite sides of the world all tell the same story? How is that even possible? One answer is that they're remembering the same event, not 5,000 years ago, but 10. At the end of the last ice age, the world began to melt. Imagine standing at the edge of your village, watching the ocean climb ever closer towards you, year on year. Glaciers the size of continents collapsed, rivers swelled and reversed, oceans surged, and the Earth's coastlines, the places where our ancestors lived, fished, raised children, were swallowed by the sea. This wasn't a single flood, it was many, and they came in terrifying pulses. Scientists call them meltwater pulses, sudden sea level surges that rose as much as 30 feet in a human lifetime. In northern Europe, Doggerland, the land that once connected Britain to the continent, was consumed by the North Sea. In Southeast Asia, a landmass the size of India, Sundaland, disappeared beneath the waves. And in the Black Sea, sediment layers suggest a catastrophic flood, one so abrupt some believe it inspired the biblical account. But the evidence isn't just geological. The ruins of ancient cities tell the same story. At Shuruppak, Kish, and Ur, archaeological evidence shows thick flood layers abruptly ending civilisations. But these floods may have had an even older trigger. Around 12,800 years ago, the Earth plunged into a mysterious deep freeze, a mini ice age known as the Younger Dryas. But no one knows why it happened. One theory says something struck us, a comet or meteor crashing into the North American ice sheet. The blast could have vaporized miles of ice, sparked global wildfires, and triggered earthquakes, superfloods and tsunamis on a cataclysmic scale. The kind of devastation you never forget, the kind that lives on in legend. Even Plato, writing in 360 BC, spoke of a mighty civilization drowned in a single day and night of catastrophe. He called it Atlantis. And while many dismiss it as allegory, the date he gives, 9,000 years before his time, aligns uncannily with the final surge of Ice Age floods. Could Atlantis too be a fragment of the same shattered memory? Again and again, in place after place, the world drowns. This isn't just mythology. This is the moment humanity nearly disappeared. In every version of the flood myth, there's a warning, a dream, a voice, a god, or something like one, reaching out to a single chosen human, and always with the same instructions: build, gather, save what you can. But why must the world be destroyed at all? In the Atrahasis epic, humanity has become too noisy, disturbing the sleep of the gods. In the Book of Enoch, the world is corrupted by forbidden knowledge, gifts from the Watchers, fallen angels who descended to earth and taught secrets never meant for mortals. From their union with human women came the Nephilim, giants who ravaged the world, devouring all they could, until the flood washed them away. Again and again the myth blames us, for our arrogance, for our cleverness, for crossing a line we were never meant to cross. So the world is cleansed, washed clean of corruption, and one man is told how to begin again, but what he's told to build is extraordinary. In Atrahasis, the ark is a giant coracle, perfectly round. In Gilgamesh, Utnapishtim's ark is described as a massive cube, and in Genesis, Noah's is a long rectangular chest. 3 different shapes, 3 different cultures, and yet, each story gives dimensions that result in a vessel with the same usable space, around 15,000 square cubits. Could that really be coincidence? In 2014, British curator Irving Finkel translated a Babylonian tablet that stunned the world, a flood account containing precise instructions for building the ark, the wood, the pitch, the exact dimensions. He helped reconstruct it, and it floated. Not a ship exactly, but a survival capsule. Round, buoyant, built not to navigate the waters, but to endure them, to bob, drift, and survive the storm. But what comes next might be the strangest part of all. In some traditions, the ark carries more than people and animals. In the Hindu tale of Manu, the god Vishnu, disguised as a fish, warns of the coming flood. Manu gathers not only survivors, but seeds of every plant and life form. In the ancient Zoroastrian texts, Yima builds an underground Vara to preserve the best seeds of men, beasts, and plants before the world is wiped clean. And in some Mesopotamian accounts, the ark carries tablets, records, knowledge, blueprints for rebuilding. Could the ark have been more than just a boat, a vessel not for escape, but for preservation? A vault, a memory capsule, of language, knowledge, the very blueprints of a civilization. The ark could have even been a library, a storehouse of wisdom, sealed and hidden from the flood, and perhaps even from the gods themselves. Some even wonder, could those seeds have meant more than grain, a symbolic way of preserving life itself, memory, DNA, the code of who we are? Today, we do exactly that. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault, buried deep within a mountain in Norway, is designed to survive any disaster, from nuclear war to climate collapse. It holds backup copies of the world's crop diversity, preserving seeds from gene banks across the globe. Could our ancestors have done the same 10,000 years ago? Every flood myth ends the same way, with a mountain. In the Islamic tradition, the ark comes to rest on Mount Judi, a peak in what is now southeastern Turkey, close to ancient Mesopotamia, where some of the world's earliest civilizations would later rise. In the biblical tradition, the ark settles upon Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey. High in its foothills lies a curious feature. At Durupinar, a boat-shaped depression stretches over 500 feet in length. Some believe it's the petrified outline of Noah's Ark, fossilized in stone. Others argue it's a natural formation, the result of landslides and erosion. No definitive proof has ever been found, but the idea endures. And 300 miles south lies a place even stranger, a hill that was not just visited after the flood, but perhaps built because of it. Gobekli Tepe, a name that means potbelly hill. For thousands of years it was thought to be just that, a rounded rise on the Anatolian plain. But in 1994, excavations uncovered something astonishing beneath the soil. T-shaped stone pillars arranged in vast circular enclosures, carvings of animals, vultures, lions, snakes, wild boar, and abstract symbols whose meanings are still debated. Carbon dating suggests it was built around 9,600 BC, over 11,000 years ago, and yet the engineering is extraordinary. 20-ton stones, perfectly balanced, aligned with astronomical points. Art and architecture, at a time when humans were still officially hunter-gatherers. Stranger still, the entire site was buried, intentionally, a vast megalithic structure deliberately entombed thousands of years ago, and no one knows why. Could it be connected to the flood? Some think so. The timing is uncanny. 9,600 BC marks the end of the Younger Dryas, and intriguingly, it's the exact date Plato gives for the fall of Atlantis. Some of the animals carved here aren't native to the region, leading some to wonder, were they symbolic? A memory of animals taken aboard the Ark? Others believe they are star charts, constellations encoded in stone. For example, one pillar, the so-called vulture stone, may depict the sky at the very moment the cataclysm struck. Not just myth, but a memory, carved in stone. Could it be that survivors of the cataclysm, those who remembered the flood, came here? Could they have brought with them not just memories, but knowledge, civilization? Could it be the place where the world began again? Göbekli Tepe isn't on a mountain, but it stands high above the plains, near the Euphrates, in the same region as Mount Judy. Some argue that's close enough to the biblical description. After the flood, the book of Genesis says, Noah built an altar to the Lord to sacrifice animals. Could Göbekli Tepe be that altar? Across the world, other whispers remain. In the Sahara, ancient rock art shows long boats sailing across what is now dry desert. In the Altay Mountains of Siberia, high in the steppe, images of oared vessels are carved into stone, far from any sea. In Bolivia, near Lake Titicaca, Andean legends speak of great floods that came before the sun was born, and ancient boats found where only dust remains. And in the Bahariya oasis of Egypt, fossilized fish lie buried in limestone hills, remnants of an ancient sea that vanished long ago. Could these be echoes of the same forgotten story? Not just a flood of water, but a world reset, a civilization washed away and rebuilt on the mountain that remembers. The idea of humanity being wiped out by a great flood is terrifying, but even more unsettling is the thought that it might not have been the first time, because the pattern doesn't stop with one flood. In Hopi tradition, the world has ended 4 times before, each age destroyed by fire, by ice, by water. Each time a few survived, to begin again. In Hindu cosmology, time moves through great cycles, the yugas, each one ending in darkness, each one beginning anew. The Maya believed the gods made 4 worlds before this one, each destroyed when humans failed to live in harmony. Some Aboriginal traditions speak of past worlds lit by different suns, each one ending in devastation until our current sun rose. Even Norse myth ends in flood, the sea swallowing the world after Ragnarok, before the earth rises once more from the deep. Creation, destruction, renewal, the story repeats. Each time the gods reset the world, and one person is told how to begin again. But what if these weren't just stories? What if the flood myths are memories, echoes of something that truly happened? And what if they endured because they were meant to? Not bedtime tales, but warnings, messages passed down, a voice from the deep past whispering, "This has happened before, and it will happen again." Are our ancestors trying to tell us something we've forgotten? That we are part of a cycle, one that always ends the same way. So where are we now? Have we already become too loud for the gods? Is the flood behind us, or is it still ahead? And if you thought this was strange, wait until you hear the 4,000-year-old secret behind the frog prints. Click here to watch it now. See you in a future video.